Hi, I'm Josanne Wright Callender, the author of the Happy Little Garbage Truck Picture Book and Educational System. This little book has been sort of like a jumping off place during the time of COVID and the quarantine for me because I'm setting up the series of YouTubes to help encourage parents and teachers and educators in general on ways to encourage our students and our children. So I say this is for people who want to nurture their children and also teach children and engage children in a way that will facilitate a better educational program for them and make it more education and learning more accessible to all children. However, this particular lesson, I think, is for everyone. This vlog, because as we were looking at resiliency, because it's a basic foundational part of having the ability to bounce back after a setback. This article that I found by Elizabeth Scott, Why Emotional Resilience is a Trait You Can Develop, just caught my eye. And it's going through like 7 or 8 different character traits that make up as a resilient person. So today's trait is optimism. And, it's like, whoa, there's so much that could be said about this particular trait that I know it will probably be a source of future talks, but I tried to get it all in as small of a component as I could. So let's dive in. So, the definition of optimism that was given in one of the research articles that I've read was being a person who sees good things everywhere and is generally confident and hopeful of what the future holds. So, I love this definition because that allows a person to get up in the morning and look forward to what they can do to um, make the world a better place. And that's what I've always tried to do and tried to encourage my children that I taught to do as well. And so, in the articles that I've looked at on optimism, it seems that one tends to become more resilient if there is an optimistic belief that things will get better. And it just makes sense. And one point of my research, I thought, well, maybe this is just the way a person is or isn't. And it did seem to be sort of like an optimistic preset, depending on what dominant part of your brain you're led by. People who are led by our right dominant tended to be more pessimistic and cynical, and people who are left brain dominant tended to have higher levels of optimism. And this is done through research in MRI and imaging facilities, and also some very basic. They did studies that had to do with surveys and even drawing a line. If a person tended to mark the center of the line more towards the right, then they were left brain dominant. And people who were going through a maze, if they kind of hugged the right side of the wall, it indicated they were left brain dominant. So things like that helped these researchers determine if a person was more right or left brain dominant. However, I was looking at another article that indicated that this dominance can be encouraged so that optimism can actually change the structure of the brain. So there was another article by Christopher Berglund of The Athlete's Way that had a couple of studies in them. They're pretty fascinating, and I can go into these a little bit later in future talks. But he stated that the University of Illinois did a research study, and they found that the healthy adults with a larger orbital frontal cortex, which is located in the prefrontal cortex, which of course we saw was the area that the insula modulates, tended if their left hemisphere had more gray matter mass, that was associated with optimism. So those two articles kind of connected with each other, that it's the left side of the orbital prefrontal cortex. Well, he saw that in this article that he related, um, on this particular one, and I see the name of that article is Optimism and Anxiety Change the Structure of Your Brain, which caught my eye. It seems that people who experienced anxiety or chronic stress, their matter, their stem cells seem to have flipped a switch in the stem cells so that they actually had the ability to inhibit the connections between the prefrontal cortex. And it resulted in forming structures that were linked to anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So, the positive, optimistic mindset, Mr. Berglund, he's an elite athlete, he decided that this was a game-changing piece of information, and he used this to encourage and improve his game as, I believe, a bicyclist. He said he decided to focus on the positives, have a positive mindset. I know that sounds familiar, and that allowed his locus of control, which we just talked about yesterday, to set the stage for success. So he decided that if he had like a racing course that was full of obstacles, he would focus on the positive, have a glass half full kind of imagery that, oh, this isn't as bad as that, and I can go faster here. So, and he found that his positive thoughts and optimism actually resulted in his having a better race performance. So I like the term that one article stated was a cautious optimism. It's like you're not Pollyanna-ish by any means. You know the obstacles are there, but you're using this positive mindset and the locus of control, knowing that you can choose how you think to get through it. Just sounds like the better way to have a level of optimism. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's a little bit longer, but we'll talk about this at a future talk because there's so much here yet to be plumbed. All right. So have a great day and stay optimistic and positive. Bye bye.